The dock workers are no longer on strike, so the ports are open. That's big. And we had a blowout jobs report that came out earlier today. The September gains in the labor market, much more than just about anyone expected, which is likely the explanation for the surprise appearance we saw last hour from President Biden at the White House briefing.
We've proven them wrong. You know, we've told our we were told our American rescue plan was too big and it would crowd out private investment. We proved them wrong. Vaccinated a nation and got immediate economic relief to people in need.
All right, now the perspective on that jobs report is we go by the numbers. Economy adding 254,000 jobs in September. You know, that's a huge number because when you look at the prediction, it was well above the 150,000 jobs that were predicted by economists. This next part is also very important. Job gains for the previous months turned out to be stronger than we thought. For example, 144,000, that was the revision upward in July. Then you look at August and it was revised up by 159,000. Unemployment rate, well, it dipped slightly to 4.1%, despite the expectation from economists it would hold steady at 4.2%. Wage increases were also a surprise, up by 0.4%, and all in all, average hourly earnings now have risen by 4% this year, and that actually outpaces the August inflation rate at 2.5%. So you put all of this together, all of these numbers, and the bottom line is this. This was a really strong economic report. So what does it mean about a month before a presidential election? Let's talk about it as Lauren Wright joins us, NewsNation political contributor, scholar at Princeton University, and Cory Johnson is here today as well, chief market strategist at Epistrophy Capital Research. Welcome both. Cory, you want to take the first crack at this because, again, the numbers are great. That's why the president, for the first time in his administration, walked into the Brady briefing room at the White House, started taking questions. You don't see it often. What do they mean, you think, for voters as they think about their action here about a month from now?
Yeah, I don't know the president was taking questions as much as he was taking a victory lap.
Right.
I mean, these numbers are just really, really strong. And you and I have been talking about, you know, employment numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers so much. But I think what we fundamentally see from this study of the U.S. economy is that we see two really great things. We see that employment across the board is really, really strong for high wage earners, for working class people. The numbers have just been really strong and a little bit stronger even than they've been in the last few months. They've ticked up to even more positive levels. But we also see that wages are increasing while inflation is ticking down. So we see, we hear, right, so we see the polling, and others can speak to this better than I, but we see the polling say the economy is a concern, inflation's a concern, and yeah, we had a lot of inflation coming out of the pandemic. We had a lot of inflation after Russia invaded Ukraine that really shocked the world's oil markets and drove up prices all around the world. And the world's come back down. And the U.S. is doing better than almost anywhere in the world at some really big numbers that we see today with wage growth. I mean, give me 4% wage growth and 2% inflation. I'll take that all day.
That's a pretty good number, or numbers. You're right about that. Now, Lauren is among those people, Cory, who could speak better than you about the polling. So let me talk about this for a minute, Lauren. I think it's really interesting because Cory's point, polling's been advantage Republicans and advantage Trump on the economy. A couple of interesting things have happened this week, even before this report came out. The Cook Political Report put these numbers together where they showed, Harris was catching up to Trump when it came to inflation. I thought that was interesting. And then we have this number from American University that came out today. If we can put up the poll that they had on the overall on the race, but also on the economy. They were looking at women voters, okay, at American University. And they said, which candidate do you favor? Of course, Harris is up among women voters. That's on the left. Which candidate, women voters, do you prefer handling the economy? Right side of your screen. That's interesting. Harris, 46-38. What's going on here, Lauren?
Well, women voters are pretty negative on Republicans in general, and that's been true for decades.
True.
So when I look at the gender gap this election cycle, whether it's on the economy or any other issue, I can't believe Trump's not doing worse. I mean, 15 percentage points, that's what Republicans have been doing since George W. Bush was in the White House. So Trump overturns Roe v. Wade. He's widely seen as responsible with his hand-picked Supreme Court justices, and he's still only 15 points apart. I mean, hard to do much worse than that, but nonetheless, you know, there is sort of a limit to that.
So you still give Trump the advantage on the economy overall then? You think this is just a gender gap question still?
I do. And that's sort of what we see. You know, if I'm playing the cynic, which I often do, Connell, I'll look at the economic numbers and then I'll look at the polling that still does show among all voters Trump has an advantage on this issue. And so that means that despite the unquestionably positive economic news for Biden and Harris, voters still aren't feeling it. They're still upset.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.